My name is Aline, and I am the wellness coordinator here at Carolina Village. And today you will be needing your chair. For today's session, don't worry so much about if you haven't had a great chair for the last couple sessions, you can really do today in almost any chair. What we'll be focusing on today, and the reason why I am barefoot today, is because we'll be doing what I call fine tuning of all of our major joints. And we'll be needing freedom of movement, so we can manipulate the toes and the fingers, and we're going to work our way all up the body to every major joint. And so just make sure you're wearing comfortable clothing. Go ahead and take off those socks and shoes if you're wearing them today, and start to get comfortable in your chair. So we're going to start seated. Remember, anytime that you're in my class and we're sitting in a chair, we're never just sitting in a chair mindlessly. We want to practice a very upright posture that's going to help all of our core muscles all the way around become stronger. And then hopefully, because you're doing this at least 3 hours out of your week, maybe some of you are practicing at home, rewatching the videos, which is awesome. You can feel free to do it every day. But with more and more practice, then hopefully in our everyday lives, we'll have more awareness. And when we sit to eat dinner or we're sitting talking with friends, we're actually sitting upright instead of what we tend to do, which is to slouch forward. So it makes it easier for you to come to the edge of the seat. Remember, if you've joined me for the past couple sessions, if this is just not an option for you, it is so uncomfortable, you can barely hold yourself here for more than a few seconds, then absolutely feel free to scoot back. But while you're sitting back, try to keep that upright posture as much as you can instead of letting the body slouch forward. So coming over to the edge, remember our knees are hip width apart, and then our heels are aligned underneath those knees. Hands can rest on the thighs, in the lap, or by the sides, whatever feels most comfortable for you. On an inhale, you can let the eyes close and just start to lengthen up through the crown of the head. Feeling with each inhale, maybe you're lifting and expanding. And with each exhale, you're rooting down through the base of the body, through the feet. Inhaling to lift and open. Exhaling to root and ground. And we'll be working with a breathing technique today called Bhramari breathing, which translates to bumblebee breath. And this one may feel a little silly, but I promise it's really fun. And it actually has some really great benefits. It's a calming breath that helps relieve stress, anxiety, and tension, which we all may be experiencing quite a bit of trying to be humans in today's world right now. And it's a very simple technique. The vibrations that you'll create when you practice this technique are very good for the ears, eyes, nose, and throat, as well as for our gland system, our endocrine system in the body, because of the vibrations that it produces in the cerebral cortex of the brain. It helps to regulate that gland system. So our neurotransmitters and our hormones are all functioning. So as you're sitting here breathing, lengthening, and rooting, when you're ready to join me, you'll take a deep inhale as usual. And on your exhale, you'll make a sound. So this sound is created with the mouth closed, and basically as if you were saying and you're holding it as long as you can on that exhale. So deep inhale, exhale, And don't worry if you have had to breathe 2 or 3 times during that one breath that I demonstrated. You will eventually build your lung capacity. It's never too late to do that, even if you have lung disease. And so try not to judge yourself too harshly. Just try to maintain that exhale as long as you can. So I'm going to continue at my pace, and you continue at your pace. Deep inhales and deep exhales. Keep going at your pace. Just trying to observe what vibrates in the body while you're exhaling, what your body feels like. Let's take 2 to 5 more breaths, again, depending on how fast or slow you may be breathing. Try to maintain that upright posture, eyes closed. All right, when you've had enough of breathing like a bumblebee, you can begin to blink the eyes open. I hope you enjoyed that. Maybe you already noticed that you feel a little more calm and centered. I'm going to go ahead and turn my chair to face you all so that you can see me better for these fine-tuning exercises. So we'll begin working with the fingers. So for these exercises, elbows stand by the sides. Let's have the palms facing up so that we can see our hands while we're working here. So I'm just going to begin first by squeezing all of my fingers tightly together and then spreading them as far apart as I can. I'm trying to isolate the movement just to the fingers and the hand, trying not to move the wrists, trying not to move the elbows or the shoulders, but I'm not holding tension here while I concentrate. I'm relaxing the shoulders away from my ears. And I'm trying to release tension wherever else I can in the body. If I am clenching my jaw or if I'm scrunching my toes, these are things that I want to try to observe while I'm working through these seemingly simple exercises. Let's do a few more, spreading the fingers as far apart as you can, and then squeezing them tightly together. Don't just passively bring them back. Really want to squeeze. One more. All right, now we're going to make fists, really clenching tightly. Like if you have long fingernails, this one should hurt a little bit in your palms. And then spreading and opening the fingertips. Squeezing. Again, notice my wrists aren't moving. I'm isolating just to the hands. Working these small little muscles that when we don't use our hands as much for everyday activities, we tend to lose some strength and dexterity. Stay with me a couple more times. If we could zoom the camera in, you'd see the little nail marks I'm making in my palms here. Squeeze. Open. Okay. Relax. If you need to, shake those arms out a little bit. Coming back to that bent elbow position, we're going to work the brain-body connection a little bit more here by bringing one finger at a time. So hands are relaxed. Let's start with trying to bring the pinkies in, and then the ring fingers, then the middle fingers, pointer fingers, and thumb. Let's try to release the same way, or the opposite way. So thumbs, pointers, middle, ring, pinkies. Do that a couple more times. Pinkies, rings, middle, pointer, thumb. Let's release the opposite way though. Pinkies, ring, a little challenging, middle, pointer, thumb. Let's do that one more time. This time thumbs in, pointers, middle, ring. Notice how I'm changing it up almost every time. Great for the brain. Thumb, pointer, middle, ring, pinky. All right, just when you thought you got it, let's throw a wrench in there. Let's try to bring just the pointer finger in, both hands. Now let's try ring finger. Kind of challenging. Let's just bring that middle finger in. Let's do pinkies and thumbs. Now as we release, let's see, pointers. Let's try pinkies. Let's do ring fingers, middle fingers, and thumbs. Just for fun, let's try one more, different pattern. Let's bring thumbs in. Let's do rings. Let's do pinkies, middle, and pointers. Let's release pinkies, thumbs, ring, pointer, and middle. All right, enough with the fingers. Go ahead and just kind of shake it out. Relax those arms. Move your whole body around a little bit if you need to. This is going to be a lot of sitting still, but again, really great to train the body. Okay, so repositioning, feet solidly planted, lifting up through the spine. We're going to move to wrist movements next. So I'm actually going to have a couple different options for you. If you want to start getting into a little more arm strengthening, then you're going to have the arms lifted. If you are don't want to go there, you want to just work on the wrists, then you're going to keep the arms down by the sides. I'm going to kind of switch back and forth between both. So either way, palms are facing either behind us if arms are down or to the ground. And we're going to go for bending the wrists down and then up. Notice I'm kind of trying to freeze my fingers. So I'm not just doing this movement in the fingers at all. I'm trying to isolate to my wrists. Should feel some pretty powerful engagement in the muscles across the top and bottom of the wrists. And then if you're holding your arms up like this, you're going to be feeling it in the shoulders as well. So if that's a little too much and you're not able to focus on the wrist movements themselves, then go ahead and drop the arms down. So flexing and extending those wrists. Working that forearm strength a little bit. And the important thing about these movements is we're working on mobility, flexibility, and a little bit of strengthening as well. I'm always about multitasking if I can. Our time is precious. Okay, a couple more. And now we're going to go for wrist circles. I recommend everyone bring their arms up for this one because what we're trying to look for is that we're not rotating at the elbow. Okay, so I want to try to isolate all of that. And I'm just rotating at my wrists. Reverse directions. And again, I have really good joint range of motion in pretty much all the joints in my body. So your movement may look very different from this. And that's okay. There is no labeling. Don't label it bad. It's just different. All of our bodies are put together differently. And if you keep practicing, you will build more mobility. Couple more. Arms can drop down if you need to. But again, just trying to isolate, move my elbows a little bit more when I drop my arms down. All right. Relax, shake it out. Notice how maybe this lower portion of your arm just feels more expansive. Blood's flowing there. We're getting everything moving. So let's work our way up now to start working at the elbow joint. So we're just going to start with flexion and extension. Trying to freeze those elbows in by my sides. So some of you may recognize this movement. It's basically your bicep curl. If you have some free weights hanging out, you may want to grab them and go ahead and get a little more bicep strengthening for this little segment. So my wrists are facing forward. My hands can be relaxed. I'm kind of squeezing them because I'm used to holding something when I do this movement. I want you to try a little something if you're getting a little bored and maybe you're interested in anatomy. Notice when your palm is up, you can bring a hand to a bicep here. Feeling that bicep engagement. Go ahead and turn your palm down. And as you bend and flex, notice that your bicep's not engaging quite as hard. That's because our bicep muscles here on the front of the arm help with supination, or the turning open or up of our palms. Just kind of cool. Go ahead and keep going, both arms. A couple more times, maybe try it with the hands, what we call pronation, or the palms facing down. One or two more. How's that posture? Are you starting to slump? Take a deep inhale to lift and lengthen. And relax. Now here, we're going to bend the elbows in by our sides again. We're going to practice that supination and pronation. So it's a specialized form of rotation that occurs at the elbow joint. So we're holding those elbows in by the sides to try to isolate that movement to just the elbow joint. Anybody sweating out there yet? Can be easy to underestimate these little exercises, especially when you're holding yourself upright at the edge of your chair. Couple more rotations. Supination and pronation. All right, let's work our way up now to the shoulder joint. Lots more movements at the shoulder joint. So let's begin with rotation. Shake those arms out a little bit. Arms are down by the sides. Take this opportunity to zip up those abdominals. Open that heart. Drop those shoulders down so you're nice and lifted here. And we're just going to internally rotate and externally rotate. So you can see maybe my thumbs, I'll poke them out for you so you can see that movement. Trying to internally rotate or rotate inward. And then rotate outward. Be gentle here. The head of the humerus is moving around in that shoulder joint. So again, a good reason to go through all of these joint movements is so that our body can be more effective and efficient. It gets used to patterns of only moving a certain way, and we get tight and weak when we try to move in different ways. Couple more rotations out and in. We're going to get a little bit more into some strengthening now because we have lots of muscles that connect around the shoulder joints, and we'll be using our arms a little bit more. Okay, so relax, shake it out if you need to. Go ahead and bring those arms out in front of you. Bend the elbows. So for this one, we're going to try to squeeze the elbows and the palms together. If you can touch, great. If not, again, don't worry about it. Want to try to keep those elbows at shoulder height the whole time. So I'm squeezing, pushing, and then I'm going to open out and I'm going to try to squeeze my shoulder blades together. Don't let those shoulders creep up. Press them down. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. And then squeeze forward. So this actually should be a pretty powerful engagement of your muscles. If having the elbows at shoulder height is just too challenging, maybe you don't have the mobility or strength for it, absolutely let those elbows come down. But the higher up we can get them, the more challenging it'll be. The more stimulus we're putting on the body. So I'm going to try lifting those elbows even though it burns a little bit. That means my muscles are really activating, getting lactic acid. It's a byproduct of those muscles working. Just in case you couldn't tell, that's what the burn's for. Try for 3 more. Work with the breath. I like to exhale when I squeeze. Inhale when I open and squeeze back. If you weren't sweating yet, you probably are now. One more squeeze if you can. And open and go ahead and relax. Whew. Nice job. You can swing those arms out. You might be happy to know that next we'll be working through some shoulder rotation, or really actually elevation and depression. So hands can stay relaxed on the thighs. Go ahead and start to elevate or lift that left or right shoulder. As you rotate it back and down, go for the left shoulder up. So I like to sometimes isolate one shoulder at a time, so I can really feel what else is going on in there. So I might close my eyes. I might notice that I feel some, what maybe feels like crunchiness in the joints. A lot of times that's our ligaments, which connect bone to bone, or our tendons, which connect muscle to bone. They're just kind of sliding around in there. If you get that pop, like when you pop your joint, like your fingers, sometimes that's an air bubble trapped. But when we get it repetitively, going through a motion like this, can basically signify some tightness in that joint. Go ahead and reverse directions. So as I'm elevating, I'm also rolling. Still trying to keep all of this engaged and lifted. So there's actually a lot going on, even though if someone were just tuning in right now, they'd be like, oh, cool, we're just rolling our shoulders, huh? How's that helping me? But you guys know better. Couple more rolls. Then we're gonna get into a little more engagement again. All right, shake it out. Build yourself back up nice and tall, arms relaxed by the sides. Now, we're gonna move with our breath even more. So we're gonna inhale to lift those arms all the way up. My palms are facing towards one another. And as I exhale, I'm lowering the arms and pressing them back behind me. So I'm pushing back as far as I can. Inhale, slow, steady, and deep. Not really moving into a back bend. Again, I'm trying to isolate this in the shoulders. So I'm really just trying to freeze the whole rest of my body in place. Inhaling to lift. And exhaling to press back. Notice I'm trying to squeeze the palms together. I'm not letting them open way out to the sides. Couple more of these. We're almost done with those shoulders. Exhaling back. 2 more. Inhale up. Exhale back. Last one. And last shoulder movement will be opening out to the sides, going up and down. Now, those of you who may have rotator cuff issues, this is actually one of the most unstable positions, is when we get our arms out, especially if palms are lifted towards the ceiling. So I want you guys to be very careful, really everyone. And I encourage you, when you lift up, that palms are facing down. And then when you come down, palms are also facing down. If any of you do this out to the side movement with me and it just doesn't feel right, doesn't feel great to the shoulders, go ahead and do a few more of the straight up and straight back movements. All right, so here we go. Palms facing down the whole time, inhaling up and exhaling down. As I go through this movement, when I bring those arms up, I'm trying not to let the shoulders lift. I'm really trying to press them down the whole time. Couple more. Really more than a couple. Let's do about 4 or 5 more. Here's 4. Remember, if at any point this doesn't feel great, switch to the front and back. 3, inhaling up. 2, maybe close your eyes for these last few. Really link that breath with the movement. As soon as the exhale starts, that's when the lower starts. Last one, inhaling to float the arms up. And exhaling to release. All right, relax. Let's move into the spine. Now, if you have anything like feet are falling asleep, you may just want to reposition a little bit. Wiggle things out as you need to. Especially if you're on a hard-based chair, you might have lost a little bit of feeling in the extremities of the legs because our sciatic nerve runs along the back of that thigh and we can cut off some of that blood flow there. All right, so let's reposition and work on the spine. So we're going to isolate the cervical spine first. That's your neck. So we have 7 vertebrae there. And we're just going to start with that rotation. So I'm rotating. I'm trying to keep my chin level the whole time. So I'm trying not to lift or lower it. Trying to freeze the rest of the body in place. So I'm just isolating that movement to the neck. Remember, never force your body. I forgot to remind you guys of the only rule of class, which is to listen to your body. So as we're going through any of these, if the full expression or trying to move the joint through the full range is just too much, then you back off. And this is a great one to tag for later or favorite for later. So you can get this routine down and do it on your own. Okay, now we're going to start with some lateral flexion or side bending. So I'm going to drop my right ear to the right shoulder and come up, left ear to left shoulder. I like to do these movements with my breathing. So inhaling to lift, exhaling to drop. Inhaling to lift, exhaling to drop. Again, I'm trying not to let those shoulders creep up at any time. Okay, the next time you drop that right ear to the right shoulder, let's leave it there. Take that left hand, see if you can grab underneath your chair. And then you're gonna lean over any amount to that right side. So I notice as I lean just an inch, I'm getting a really big stretch here along the side of my neck. And I'm gonna transfer that stretch. So we have so many muscles here, sternocleidomastoids, scalenes, upper traps in the back. I'm gonna rotate my chin down and then slowly rotate it up as I hold this stretch, just to get into all of those powerful neck muscles that hold our big old bowling ball of a head up all day. Show us some love. Sometimes tension in these muscles in the neck can contribute to headaches. And so trying to keep them stretched is a great idea. All right, I'm gonna slowly lift up and just notice how this left side feels 5 inches longer than the right. So let's even that out. We're gonna drop that left ear to the left shoulder. Grab hold of the chair wherever you can with that right hand, and then start leaning over any amount to that left side. And again, you can try that rotation of the chin down and up. I should have mentioned on the other side, if this doesn't feel good to you, then just hold the stretch with that ear towards the shoulder. And if you find a really juicy spot, like right in here for me, I want to pause there. And then I might try to find another little sticking point where I want to pause and hold the stretch. Hold down here. Just be breathing deeply. Couple more seconds. And when you're ready, an inhale comes up to release that stretch. Roll or rock anything out that you need to. We'll move down to the thoracic and the lumbar spine, and then we'll get repositioned a little bit and work with our feet and up to our hips. So let's start with twisting. We're going to start engaging those core muscles, specifically our obliques. We have our internal and our external obliques that run in different directions on either side. So we're going to bring our hands together kind of like genie arms, elbows to shoulder height if possible. Again, if you need to lower them, totally fine. But a little more effort here to hold them up. So we're trying to twist now from the space of the solar plexus. It's a little bit above the navel, below the rib cage, that kind of center of the core. And I'm just trying to rotate to the right. I'm really powerfully engaging my core muscles to do this. So if you're doing this right, you're actually feeling some pretty intense engagement, but notice I'm not moving very far. I'm freezing my head in place, so I'm not really twisting in the neck here. I'm trying to isolate that twist to my thoracic vertebrae, of which I have 12, and they connect to my ribs. Those are the vertebrae that connect to our rib cage. Not much twisting happens in the lumbar spine or the low back. Exhaling to twist. Maybe with pursed lips as my shoulders and abdominals are getting a little fatigued. Notice how I'm freezing my legs in place too. It's going to be really tempting to try to move those legs like I'm doing now. Cheating. Not going to feel it as much. Let's try 2 more twists to each side. Here's 2. Last twist to each side. And exhale to release. Whew, good job, guys. Swing those arms out. Any decompression movements that you need to do. We're going to do 1 more spinal movement and then start working on the lower body. So for this next movement, we're going to do lateral flexion of both the thoracic and the lumbar spine, which is basically our low back. We have 5 lumbar vertebrae, and we're just going to do some side bending. So let's start here, hands at the legs of your chair. So I'm going to side bend over to my left side, and I'm going to run my left hand down the leg of my chair. I'm trying to keep the chest open. So I'm truly dipping to the side and not dipping forward. I do not want to do that. Even if that means I'm only going this far in my side bend, that's what I'm going to do, as opposed to hunching forward. That puts a lot of stress on the vertebral discs in between our vertebrae and makes them bulge backwards, and that's not great, especially if you have herniated discs or have had issues with that in the past. So straight on down to the side. And then to the other side. Again, I like to exhale as I go down, inhale as I come up. If you want a little bit more muscle engagement, bring the opposite arm up. That's going to work your abdominals and obliques a little bit more. We're still working range of motion here, but we're not passively stretching. We are engaged while we're working through that range of motion. I'm really pressing down into my feet. We're going to do several more of these if you want to make it even more challenging. Both arms up. Unassisted side bending. You'll really feel that in the sides here. Strengthening those muscles. But remember your options. Just one arm up at a time. Or no arms, and you're just focusing a little bit more on the range of motion, a little less on the muscle activation. Let's do 2 more to each side. Here's 2. Last one to each side. All right. Relax, decompress. Reposition that body if you need to. I'll stay facing you for toe movements, and then I'm going to turn so you can see me better for the others. But toe movements first. So I'm coming to the edge of my seat, heels under my knees. I should be able to see my toes from this position, but if not, I can kind of walk those feet forward a little bit more. So what I'm trying for here is similar to what we did with the fingers. I'm going to try lifting all those toes and spreading them as far apart as I can. And then I'm going to scrunch those toes under. So that's going to lift the tops of my feet. So open and scrunch. Notice I'm still maintaining good posture. Trying to work through that range of motion. The feet honestly may be one of the hardest things for you guys because your feet have been in shoes for many, many years. Shoes are not a bad thing. They're great. But what they do tend to do is atrophy some of these muscles and at a minimum just disconnect from usage. So we're not used to moving our toes and our feet this way. Okay, so now I'm going to try lifting all my toes. I'm going to try getting just those pinky toes down. Then I'm going to try the next toe. Just that next toe. All of them will kind of want to come together, but try to separate them. Then the toes next to the big toes, and then finally the big toes. Can I lift just the big toes now? Just the next toes. Ah, it's so hard. Middle toes, lift. Then next to the pinky, and then the pinky. Try that a couple more times. Please, just laugh at yourself. Don't get frustrated. I've been doing yoga for a long, long time. And working with toe grip and toe manipulation. And there's still people that can do this way more pronounced than I can. So you're just trying to lift individual toes. One more time. Stick with it. Laughter is great for our brains. Lift. And relax those toes. All right. So I'm just shifting sideways so that you can see me better for our ankle movements next. This is where we can start to incorporate some leg strengthening and abdominal strengthening if you choose. We're going to isolate to just 1 foot at a time for these movements, especially if you're incorporating abdominals. That's important. So for my ankle movements, I'm going to straighten my right leg out first. Heel is very lightly touching the ground. I'm just going to lift that pant leg up so y'all can see a little bit better. And if I want to start getting some more abdominal engagement, I'm going to tilt back so that I'm on a bit of a decline back, but notice how my back is staying flat. So I'm not leaning back like this. Then I'm just kind of disengaging, and it's not great for my spine. So really want to keep that chest lifted, belly button lifted, okay? And I'm going to be pointing and flexing. Heel is slightly elevated the whole time, so I'm engaging my quads and my hip flexors. Remember that psoas muscle that I talked about on Monday? That's working here, engaging. Now remember, you can be more upright. That's totally fine. Or that lean back to just engage a little bit more. So I'm just trying to work through full range of motion. I am moving my toes through the pointing and the flexing. Okay, let's go ahead and rotate now. Oh, and if only you could hear the snap, crackle, and popping of those ankles. You're probably experiencing the same thing. That is okay as long as there's no pain associated with it. And go ahead and reverse directions. Probably feeling a bit of a burn here in the hip flexor, hip crease area, definitely in the abdominals. Probably even if you're not tilting back. Keep breathing. Go ahead and relax that right leg, shake it out a little bit. See if you can just notice any differences between the two sides. Let's even them out. So this time extending that left leg out, lift and lengthen, hinge back, keeping that length or not. And you're pointing and flexing. Watch those ankles work. Notice all of those muscles in the foot, top of the ankle. Probably powerfully feel the calf muscle engaging as you point. Try to keep everything else relaxed. I noticed I was like making a fist here with my hand. I want to try to relax that out. Just my abdominals and my leg are working. Deep breathing. Couple more times, pointing and flexing. You guys are doing awesome. Who underestimated this class when you first heard me talking about it? All right. Circle. Leg stays slightly lifted. Keep breathing. Reopen here. I noticed I started sagging a little bit, so I'm trying to open that rib cage, open that chest. And reverse directions of the circles. Deep breaths. Couple more. Getting as much range of motion as possible. And go ahead and relax. Shake it out. Knee joints are next. With the knee, we really mostly just have flexion and extension. That's our quadricep muscles, a muscle group with 4 muscles that come together, connect into our patellar tendon, which runs down across the top of the knee joint and connects down here into the shin. So for this one, again, I have the option of hinging back. This time I recommend arms coming forward, or if you're not going to do the hinge back, maybe you're holding yourself up nice and tall and maybe holding on the sides of the chair. So if you're going to hinge, we're basically going to straighten and bend, but notice my heel is not coming down to the ground. If straightening and bending is too much, you notice your breathing is stopping or becoming shallow, then you are going to release the foot down. Take a little second and then pick it back up. So basically, the slower you go, well, I guess I can't really say that. Sometimes moving slow actually makes it harder. But if you rest the foot, it'll make it a little easier. So I'm going to hinge back, open up. Because what I don't want to do is that I'm focusing so much on my core strengthening that I'm not focusing on my knee anymore. So important to strengthen these quadricep muscles, guys, because this is one of the major muscles that protects the knee joint, that helps stabilize the knee joint. Our knee joint really only has 4 ligaments that connect it together. So all of the rest of the stability of that joint is dependent on the musculature around it. Good. Keep breathing. Keep that chest opening. Let's do 2 more. Here's 2. And 1. And relax. Shake those legs out a little bit. Again, observing differences between right and left sides. And we get to do all of that on our left side now. So repositioning, lifting and lengthening. If you want to strengthen the core, you're tilting back. And we're straightening. And bending. My foot's staying pretty much neutral. I'm not flexing it actively and I'm not pointing it. If you want to do either of those, you can, but you may just get a cramp, possibly. Which is no fun. I mean, you may get a cramp anyways, no matter what you do. But that's those muscles just working real hard. If you'd like to, you can even bring hand to the thigh so you can feel those quadricep muscles engaging as you straighten, lengthening as you bend. Try to keep that belly pressing up, chest pressing open. Breathing. It's 4 more. Here's 4. 3, 2, last 1, and relax. Woo! Shake those legs out. For getting into the hip joint, we're going to come to standing behind the chair. So if you have issues with your balance or you're a little bit nervous about trying to get up out of the chair without any hands, go ahead and get up, position yourself behind the chair. If you'd like a bit of a challenge, we'll move through chair pose like we did on Monday. You're going to walk those heels in so that the toes are underneath the knees, still hip width apart here. You're going to start to lean forward, arms come out. Your weight's kind of shifting into the toes. Keep shifting forward, powerful engagement of those quads, those glutes. Lift that heavy hips up. Slowly come up to standing. And on an exhale, relax. Everyone, shake it out a little bit. Let's come on to behind our chair. I'm just going to turn mine all the way here so that you can see my movements a little bit better. So you're going to stand sideways to your chair. Let's stand with the left side or left hand on the chair. If holding with one hand makes you very nervous, then it is totally fine to face the chair and hold with both, but you're just going to limit your movements a little bit from that. And it is also totally fine to maybe press your chair up near a wall so that you can hold onto your wall and your chair if that's accessible to you. I'm actually going to turn back this way for a second to show you the rotation. So I'm going to try to shift my weight into my left foot a little bit, and I'm freeing that right leg off the ground. I'm just going to rotate out and rotate in. Now, those of you that have had hip replacements, if it's pretty recent, the past year or two, then you may not want to rotate in. You may just want to stop with toes forward. If it's been a long time though, then you should be able to do that range of motion. But again, listen to your body. If your hip says, no, 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 that does not feel right, then don't do the internal rotation part. Getting a little staticky with my music. I'm gonna go turn it off. You keep rotating in and out. Okay, couple more. Rotating in and out. Okay, relax that foot. Shake those hips out. Probably this standing or supporting hip was feeling a pretty good burn, which is totally normal. Now we're gonna really work to strengthen some of these muscles even more. So again, finding our support, really engaging navel to spine. I'm actually gonna turn sideways for this one. Hand to the hip. I'm gonna try to bring that leg up in front of me as high as I can without this happening. So I wanna stay lifted and open, so I'm really just working those hip flexor muscles to lift me up. Then I'm gonna try to open out to the side. Notice how my leg is staying parallel to the other leg. So I don't wanna open the toes out. I wanna keep it parallel. And then I'm gonna try to push back. Again, no leaning forward, that's cheating. If I don't lean forward, I'm engaging my glutes and really strengthening those muscles. Out and forward and out. Probably already burning now. Whenever you need to stop and take a little break and just rock those hips side to side, go ahead and do that. Try to stay with me if you can. Deep breathing. Oh yeah, feeling that burn. Make sure you're not locking the knee of that supporting leg. So the leg I'm standing on, I'm maintaining a little micro bend in that knee. Whew. All right, y'all. Let's try it for 2 more of these full movements. Out. So if you've taken a break, try to join back in now and finish out strong. Last one. Out. Whoo. And back. One more out. All right. Go ahead and shake that supporting leg out. Could feel nice to kind of rock or maybe even do circles or any other movements that feel good to your hips. We're going to do some hip stretching as part of our cool down, which is next after we get the left side. So go ahead and turn. So right hand is on the back of your chair. Root into that right foot. Again, making sure we're not locking that knee out. So notice the difference between locked versus straight versus bent. So I want to be in that straight position, which is actually kind of a micro bend. With that left leg, I'm rotating it out and then in if that feels okay to my hip. Out and in. Now, meanwhile, I'm trying to keep that zipped up, engaged body. Trying to relax the shoulders away from my ears because it's really easy when we're standing to want to lift ourselves up with our shoulders. Keep rotating, couple more. Then we get to the real fun of our, what I call cross kicks. Okay, one more open. Externally rotate and relax. Shake those legs out. Maybe sway those hips. And get ready. So rooting into that right foot. Again, hand on the hip, or if you're at your wall, hand on your wall. And you're going front and side and back. Trying to freeze the body. No movement except at that hip joint. Toes to the ceiling. Foot stays parallel. Heel back. Core stays engaged. Navel pushing towards spine. We gotta activate it. A lot of us have lost touch with our cores over the years. And it's not as natural as we might think to engage the core during these types of movements. So I really want you to think about navel pressing back towards the spine, chest staying lifted. Whew. Anyone else burning? Oh yeah. 3 more. Rest if you need to. Try to join me on the last 1 or 2. Deep breathing. Here's 2. Maybe that pursed-lipped exhale. Last one. Join me if you've been resting. Here we go. Front. Side, back, and side. Whoo! Nice job. Decompress a little bit. Again, maybe you're doing circles or just rocking those hips side to side, or really any other movements that feel good to your body. So this is the time to just kind of listen. Let your body move. Don't worry about what it looks like. I'm clearly not. All right. So for our final cool down and relaxation, when you're ready, come on back down to your seat. And yes, we're still staying engaged just for a moment to get some nice stretching into the lower body. So our hips should be pretty warmed up. We're going to do what's called a seated pigeon pose. If you're familiar with yoga, this is usually performed on the floor. We're going to do it seated so it's much more accessible. So I'm going to show 2 different levels of challenge here. For those of you who know that you're not very flexible, or you maybe have hip issues, you're going to take that right ankle and cross it over the front of your left ankle. And from here, you may already feel a stretch in that hip. That's totally fine. Just stay here and breathe. If not, you're going to start to hinge forward, maintaining that straight back until you feel a stretch in the hip. Now, if you've come about this far and you're thinking, Aline, I don't feel a stretch, then what you're going to want to do is to try to pick that ankle up and cross it over the thigh. Notice how my ankle is not actually on top of my thigh. That would be a little bit uncomfortable. So I want to try to shift it over so my ankle's more or less free. Now I definitely feel a stretch already, but if I want to increase that a little bit, I'm going to slowly hinge forward. This should be okay for hip replacement, folks. It is external rotation of the hip, not internal. But again, listen to your body. So either here, try not to press on the knee or the ankle, so I'm going to bring my hands to my thighs. Or if this is too much, or you can't get that ankle up over the knee, you're here. So either way, let's hang out for a couple deep breaths. Try to relax the mouth, the eyebrows, anywhere else where you may be holding on to tension, because our bodies just don't want to let go. And slowly start to come up. Very slowly and with assistance, uncross. And maybe just wiggle that leg out. Observing differences. When I close my eyes, I feel like my right side is 5 times just larger and more spacious than my left side. So let's even that out. If you did ankle cross on the other side, stick to ankle cross on this side, even if you know you're more flexible on one side versus the other. Let's keep it even today. So you're going to cross and hinge forward, or you're going to take that leg up. Remember, no ankle on top of the thigh if you can avoid it. It's just more comfortable that way. And your knee may be way up here towards your chest. That's okay. If it's accessible to you, you can gently press that knee down, but never at the joint itself. We want to press at the top of the thigh. And we don't want to press if it doesn't feel okay to our bodies. So again, trying to relax wherever else we may be holding tension. When we relax the other parts of our body, sometimes that allows the muscles that we're trying to stretch to relax a little bit more too. It gives our body a cue to release instead of hold. Couple more breaths. My back is staying nice and long here. I'm not just folding over. You guys did a wonderful job today. It's a different kind of challenge. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Go ahead and come up on an inhale when you're ready. And any kind of decompression movements. And let's get ready for our final relaxation. So we're going to scoop back in the chair, get comfortable yet stay open. So I'm going to scoot back and just let myself sink into the support of the chair. I might want to prop my feet up on a cushion if I have that, or just basically let them stay relaxed. Might even let my knees open out to the sides a little bit. And I'm going to let my eyes close. And just notice if I'm holding on to tightness anywhere in the body. I'm going to start at my toes and work my way up to just relax all of those joints and muscles. So my toes, I might even wiggle them and then relax them. Scanning up to my ankles. Am I holding tension there that I can release? Making my way up to the knees. The thighs. Can I release any tension there? Can I feel that I'm sinking a little more heavily into the support of the chair as I work my way to the hips? Relaxing with each exhale that I take. Releasing any tension in the abdominals and the back. And the shoulders or chest. Working my way down the arms. Am I relaxing biceps and triceps, forearms and hands? And then working my way back up through the head and the face. Am I relaxing the jaw, mouth, tongue, eyebrows? Just fully letting go. And sometimes in this process of letting go and releasing, we can experience just a more powerful integration of the work that we did in class. Steady, natural breathing. Feeling that the only movement in your body is the rise and fall of your inhales and exhales. Allow for just one more relaxing breath like this. And when you're ready, you can just begin to wiggle your toes. Maybe try to move them individually like we did during class. Wiggle your fingers. Make fists scrunch and open. Roll things out, just awakening the body back up. And when you're ready, if you haven't already, you can open your eyes. And just, again, letting that sense of gratitude wash over you for doing something so wonderful for your body and your joints today. Thank you for following along. As always, if you have any questions, concerns, feedback, suggestions for next classes, don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can call me or email me. And I hope to hear from you guys. And I hope you have an awesome day. And thank you again for practicing today.